This one, the lunch in the studio, is really about making black glow, the black of that jacket. As a scene, it's kind of incoherent. Nobody looks at anybody else. They've all been assembled from different worlds. There are oysters ready to be eaten, and coffee is being served. They'd never be in the room at the same time. Nobody knows who modelled for the maid. The man might be Manet, actually it isn't. The boy could be anyone, actually he's Manet's illegitimate son.
A woman glimpsed on the street, a random encounter. White is the steam from the trains coming out of the Saint-Lazare station. Manet's studio overlooks the station. The white makes the black railings striking. The contrast of black and white seems to be the main meaning. There's no story offered. The title is just The Railway. It doesn't give anything away.
Because of art scholarship, we do know something about the woman in the painting. It's Victorine Miron, Manet's old model. She walked out of his studio one afternoon in 1867 and disappeared for 6 years.
It turned out she went to America. Now she's returned. In a few years, she'll be dead from alcoholism. But for Manet's purposes, none of these meanings behind the scenes matter. He just wants the visual object, its arresting power.
Manet wanting to be visually striking sounds a bit tame compared to Courbet wanting to bring down the government. But Manet's visual freshness is profound. It says something. For Courbet, truth is peasant experience. For Manet, it's visual perception. The world isn't really perceived as a collection of polished details, but as a collection of glimpses of colour, patches and tone.
Courbet's milieu in the 1850s was working-class bohemian. Manet's in the 1860s was middle-class bohemian. Impressionism is more or less a middle-class movement. Courbet went to anarchist beer cellar dives, but Manet went to more expensive joints.
In the 1860s, when most of the artists who were to become the Impressionists already knew each other, they went to the Café Gaubois in the Rue de Batignolles, now Avenue de Clichy. And now the Gaubois is a shoe shop instead of a cafe, to hear Manet talk about art. He lived in the same street at number 34, and he held meetings here every week. Cheers. Obviously, we hate the Impressionists being middle class. We think art should be edgy and a bit dangerous. The weird thing about Impressionism is that it was known to have come out of both Manet's and Courbet's examples. So it was thought to be both a revolutionary, menacing art and a relaxed, leisure type of art. This is Manet's last major painting, a bar at the Folies Bergère. A dandy solicits a barmaid. There she is, there's the bar. Everything else is a mirror reflection. The model really did work at the Folies Bergère. Manet based the painting on sketches done on the spot, and then he posed her back at the studio. A painter friend of Manet's modelled for the man.
He got the painting into the Salon of 1882. He got a medal for it. The same year, he got the Legion of Honour. He wrote to the government to thank them and to the Salon jury for the medal. He said he was too ill to collect it, and he wished he'd got it 20 years ago, as it would have made his fortune. Manet knew he could never paint anything this ambitious again. His time was up. He was suffering the consequences of all his life, not only being Mr. Colour Man, but Mr. Lover Man. When he moved himself and his family here, 39 Rue de St. Petersburg, in 1878, he was already suffering from a nervous disorder, the late product of syphilitic illness he contracted when he was young.
An experimental treatment was prescribed for Manet's illness, which turned out to be disastrous. It led to circulation problems in one of his legs and then to gangrene. The leg had to be amputated. And then on the 30th of April, 1883, aged only 51, in the upstairs apartment, suffering convulsions, Manet died.
What matters in Manet's art is the sense of modern life conveyed in the liveliness of the painting. Other types of sense are no longer the business of painting. For this one to feel right, it doesn't matter that all sorts of logics are wrong. The bottles on the bar here should be reflected on the near side of that marble top and not the far side.
The position of the man is where we are now looking at the painting. But we shouldn't be able to see his reflection because it will be blocked by her body.
There's an audience above and one below. There's an aperitif bottle with Manet's signature on it. Remember, Manet is dying. The bottle is flame red. Maybe it's hell below. The flickering look of the surface is Manet being influenced by his influencees, the Impressionists. We thought we hadn't got there yet, but in fact they're on the scene. In a minute, meet the big one, Claude Monet, the man who makes your eyes wobble. Welcome back. The main Impressionist was Claude Monet. Reality, sensuality, colour, Monet's inheritance from Manet and Courbet. Rawness, directness, painting outdoors in nature. This is what Monet brings to the mix. It was Monet who founded the Impressionist group. There were about 12 members, but it was Monet who most stood for its main principles: movement, spontaneity, and light. Interestingly, Monet didn't go looking for Impressionism. He stumbled on it by accident. Here he is in his 20s. This is his story.
He was a classic, out-of-control artist who would be embarrassed by if he behaved today like he did in the 19th century. He was born lower middle class in 1840 in Paris, but he was brought up on the coast in Normandy. His mother died when he was 17. As a teenager, he did caricatures of well-known locals and sold them, and he used his earnings to buy himself art lessons at cheap, little, shabby private art schools. One of these, the Académie Suisse, was just near here on the Quai des Orfèvres on the city island in Paris. It was at the Suisse that Monet met Renoir. They went around together. They did a few portraits, Monet did a few more caricatures, and they lived on sacks of beans, Monet claimed later when he was rich and he wanted to sentimentalise the past. But it's true that he never did have any real money until he was in his late middle age. He would get money but squander it. He had expensive tastes. And he put on airs. He would tell middle-class women that he only slept with duchesses or serving girls. Anything in between, he said, would be revolting.
As a young man, Monet's idea of success, like Manet's and Courbet's, was to get in the salon. Here is his portrait of Courbet, but it was because of Manet's influence that Monet thought colour was painting's road into the future. What type of colour, though? He copied dresses from illustrations in magazines. He thought about fashion colour as well as nature colour. He painted this 2 years after he saw Manet's Déjeuner sur l'herbe in the Salon of the Refused. He got Courbet to give him advice about it. Courbet's advice was to give it up because it was too big.
He rolled up the enormous canvas and left it with a landlord in lieu of some rent that he owed. And when he came back years later, it was mostly destroyed by damp. These are just the fragments that remain. This one is called 4 Figures in a Garden. Monet's lover, Camille Danseur, posed for all four of them. What is it? He's doing something which is very important in painting, but which is very rarely discussed outside the world of art criticism. He's doing something formal. Intuitively, bit by bit, he's making a style idea come to life.